Hey there, this is Kevin Martin coming to you from the office of Positive Effects Coaching and Hypnosis. That's right, I'm a hypnotist, but just forget that for now. I want to talk about you about something that's important. I'm recording this on the second to last day of December 2017. We have the new year coming in, 2018. And when we have a new year, it's a great excuse for, or great reason to make changes in our lives, right? It's a great excuse for creating these goals. And I'm not going to talk to you specifically about how to write goals tonight, but I do want to talk to you about how to take goals and embed them in your subconscious mind in a way that is just really, really powerful and will increase the odds of you reaching your goals tremendously. So let's talk about this. I said I'm not going to talk too much about goal setting. I may do something a little later, but you can look up on the internet anything to do with SMART goals, S-M-A-R-T. It's an acronym. But I want you to, there's just a couple of things that are very important. No matter how you do your goals, there's a couple of things that are very important. One is to write them down. Write them down. Writing them down is extremely important. If you've ever set goals and you just scribbled a couple of notes about what goals you're setting and you work towards them, you may or may not have gotten them. If you do this right, if you write down specific goals that you want, okay, it is tremendous. Not just typing on the internet, not just, typing away on your computer, but actually writing them down. And I'll tell you why. Because when you write them down, your subconscious mind has to become enabled. You're using your body. And as you're writing each letter, there's something going on right up here. Subconsciously, your words are coming out, you're writing them, you're reading them as you're writing them, and it does something magical, okay? It's much better than just thinking, okay, by the end of the year, I want this, okay? So make sure you write your goals down. A long time ago, and this has stuck with me, Brian Tracy said in one of the recordings that I had, if you write 10 goals down and then you take your piece of paper, you put it away in your desk, and you don't look at it until next year, you'll go back next year and you will find that you have probably achieved 8 out of those 10 goals easily. Okay, and I found this to happen in my life where I actually was writing some goals down. One specifically, I had a business going on several years ago. It was a software application business where a lot of the work was around the country and even around the world. And I was one of the resources in my own business, and I had the talent and the know-how, so I was the most asked of resource. And so for several years, I was on a plane Monday morning to go out to a customer and back on Friday night, and sometimes 2 customers during the week, and sometimes not Friday night, but Saturday morning. And boy, did that take a toll on me. And finally one year, I had a few people working for me, and I said, I want to get to the point where I want to get off the road. So I took this in November, December timeframe. I wrote it down. I said, by mid-August, I want to be off the road. And then I put that piece of paper away, didn't think about it, didn't think consciously about it. Yeah, I knew I wanted to get off the road. So later on in the year, I had enough people and the finances looked perfect that I could actually manage what was going on, still make the amount of money I needed, and have the people do the traveling and not me. And at the end of the year when I was writing my goals for the next year, I took this out and I said, oh my goodness, it says mid-August, and it was August, I think it was August 15th, that I actually got off the road, and I hadn't traveled since. And this was not in my conscious mind as to that date. And it just happened. It blew me away. It really did. I achieved it. I achieved it to the date that I wanted to. So writing down is powerful. Another thing I'm going to mention quickly is when you do write your goals, when you formulate your goals, you write them as if. Now, let's talk about these things as the subconscious hack. Okay, so these subconscious hacks, this is another one, as if now. Because if you write your goal, I want to get this, want. Implies that you don't have it. And if your goal is always, I want to get this, your subconscious mind says, okay, I'll just keep you always wanting. Always wanting. Even I will get this. Will is not enough. It means, again, you don't have it now. And you can always say, well, I'm going to get this. I'm going to get this. I'm going to achieve this. And your subconscious mind doesn't act on it because it say, okay, we'll get it. We'll get it sometime. One of the things that you'll know when you do SMART goal setting is you're supposed to have a date. Okay, and that's very powerful. And that kind of takes care of a little bit of the I want or I will, I want to get this by or I will get this by. That kind of takes a little bit of problem, but you want to do it more powerfully. You want to add massive results to your goal setting. You want to write them as if now, meaning, I want a red sports car, for instance, let's not say January, we're just starting, right? By June, just in time for the summer. Okay, so I want a red sports car by June. So my goal would be I am driving my own red sports car by June. When you say I am driving my own red sports car, doesn't that just give you an image? And it gives you a much more powerful image than I want a red sports car. Okay. First of all, the image in my mind is I'm sitting in that red sports car. Okay. And if I say I want a red sports car, yeah, I get a picture of that red sports car out there somewhere, right? But it's not the image that I want. Okay. The image I want is as if I have it now. And your subconscious mind works in a way that, okay, if you tell it you have it now, if you get this imagery of you're doing it, it says, okay, well, you must have this or going to have this soon, so let's start acting and behaving like you are this driver of this red sports car to bring it to you. Okay, and that's how a little bit of the magic of the law of attraction works. And again, I'm not meaning to talk about the law of attraction here, although goal setting the way I'm talking to you now is actually really, really powerful for the law of attraction. So I am driving this, or I am a graduate with a master's degree, if that's one of the things your goal is, or I am making $70,000 a year, if that's one of your goals. So you formulate it as I am, or I have, okay, not I want or I will. These are great subconscious hacks, and your subconscious mind is very astute. And if you're talking to it properly, if you're communicating with your conscious mind properly, it's very astute in making things happen for you. Okay, so there's a few of the things. Writing your goals down, and then actually formulating them. Not then, you'll probably formulate them first, then write them down, of course, but formulating them as if now. But here's the meat and potatoes of what we're going to talk about tonight is future imprinting for goal setting. This is what's going to be really cool. Okay, so you take your as if now goal and you get an image of it. And we're going to work with some images and different sensory parts of the images, because your subconscious mind, it actually reacts so well to a multi-sensory communication. Okay, meaning, okay, I have words, and I say I am driving this red sports car. Okay, and you can use those words as an affirmation. By the way, affirmations as if now are so much more powerful than any other type of affirmation. Okay, if you're doing affirmations, you formulate them as if now. So you have the words. Now that's kind of powerful, but it does take a little bit of time for your subconscious mind or your unconscious mind, which I may refer to it from time to time. I refer to both equally the same. Okay. Takes a little bit of time for your unconscious mind to get the message with just words. Words with feeling, now that's even more powerful. So let's take this goal. I want a red sports car. And we formulated to I am driving, or I do own my own red sports car, or I am driving a red sports car by June next year. So you'll see, get an image of that. Okay. See a picture of the red sports car and you sitting in it. And I want you to look at this image. And we'll take this red sports car as your example so you can follow along with me. But this is going to be the same thing for lots of other things, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But you get this image of you in it, right? And I want you to look at yourself with your face. This is an important thing when I do this with my clients. Okay, if you get the image of you having achieved this goal, having acquired this item, do you look like you really are happy, or do you have the look like you have the emotion you would when you acquire this? Okay, that's the first thing, and this is in your mind. So if you don't look that, okay, you got to think, do whatever you can to make yourself look that way. Okay, and once you get that image of you in this red sports car, okay, I want you to float into you. I want you to associate into that you as if you are sitting there in that red sports car. Okay, how would you feel? What do you see? What do you hear? And how do you feel? Okay, these are very important things. This is what supercharges your subconscious mind. Okay, these sensory emotions. They're not emotions, but these sensory inputs that you're going to have. I once was out on a retreat with my wife, and it was a religious retreat, and it was just my wife and I, and maybe one other person, and there was a nun that was running the retreat. And she had some beautiful, gentle music on in this room. And we had candles, and there was some incense going on. And she said, I wanted it to be a very sensual effect. And I looked at her, and she corrected herself. She said, of course, sensory, not sensual. We laughed. But I get it. When you have all of the senses, or as many senses turned on, your subconscious mind reacts to that much more than just a single thing. So you're sitting back in this red sports car. What are you seeing? Maybe you're seeing the dashboard of the sports car that you want, and all the leather or the wood trim. What are you hearing? You're hearing that engine roar, roll, roll, roll. Okay? Yeah. And what are you feeling? Maybe you're feeling the vibration from the hum of the engine. That's a very tactile feeling. But maybe you're feeling like, wow, I got it. Finally, that sense of pride and that sense of satisfaction. And whatever feeling that you might feel from having acquired this goal, okay? Once you've got that, by the way, there are a couple other senses I left out, and they are important. I don't always use them. You don't always need them. But with this car, I can use the sense of smell. Can you smell the fresh new car smell or the fresh leather smell from this car? Okay, I'm not sure we can do anything with taste in a car, but we'll leave that up for now. But what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're feeling, and maybe even what you're smelling. And then I'd say make it as intense as possible. Make your visual senses as crisp and colorful, bright as possible. Make that audible. If there's auditory here, and in this example with the car, sure is. That hum of the engine. Make that nice and bassy and loud. Make that feeling intense, that the vibrational feeling that you're feeling, and that feeling of satisfaction, that pride, that wonder that you're here finally. Make it all intense. And when you've got it all there, you ask your subconscious mind to lock it in, and you use some auditory as well. So if you know the sound of Tupperware as it's just locking in the air freshness, or with most men, and I apologize if there are women out there that are insulted, I leave them out on this, but I say that, the sound of a big padlock. Doesn't matter who you are. If a padlock works for you, bingo, use that. Or if Tupperware works for you, bingo, use the sound. And at the same time, asking your unconscious mind to lock this image in. And then zoom out. Zoom out, seeing you the way you were just a moment ago, enjoying that full sensory experience of the having achieved this goal, having acquired this goal. And it's incredible. Now for the future imprint. You've got the goal in front of you. And here's what the image in front of you. And here's what I want you to do with this image. Okay? What I want you to do is you take a nice deep breath and you exhale. I use a rounded mouth to make a sound. You have the most air coming out. And imagine that breath going right towards your image. Okay? The Hawaiians feel that your life force is right down in your stomach, and it's breath. And when it comes up, you're breathing life force. Hawaiians, as well as many other cultures, feel that. So what we're doing is actually imagining we do have a life force in our breath. And we're going to take 4 deep breaths and breathe it in towards this image that you have of you in this, having achieved this goal. And in this case, it's sitting in the car with the car running and the engine going, and you're looking so satisfied, so happy, so joyous, and like this intense almost, because I would be in this new red sports car. Okay? So let's breathe out 4 breaths, deep breaths. And as you're breathing onto it, imagine the image getting bigger, brighter, and even maybe vibrating. You're giving it life. You're bringing it to life. One more. Awesome. Then with this image in front of you, okay, this is what I wanted you to do. Imagine in the direction of the future. Now, a lot of people think of the future out in front of you. If you think of the future out in front of you, that's fine. If you think of the future over to your right or over to your left or up above, wherever you feel the future is for you, you just, in your mind's eye, and sometimes I use my hand, just give this a gentle, gentle push and watch your image float out into the future. The future, in the right place in the future, you will have had in mind where your image is going. In this case, in this example, I said June. So it's floating out into June. And as it floats out and into all of your experiences in the future, notice all of the experiences from there all the way back to now, as if dominoes lighting up and putting themselves in place, just aligning up to make this happen. So imagine all of your experiences way out from June all the way back to now, all aligning up to make this happen. Then you take a deep breath. And again, ask your subconscious mind to lock this in as it is. And know you can go back anytime. Go back to that wonderful, wonderful memory you just created in the future. To sit in that red sports car. To smell that leather. To feel that engine hum. To sit there with pride and look at all the interior and the red and the beautiful red exterior. You can do that anytime. That's what's important, is all of the sensory, as much sensory as you can. Okay, so we use that example of a red sports car. It's the last thing. I just want to give you some other examples, because you might be saying, well, you know, what if it's, I want, $25,000 in my bank account? Well, here, $25,000 in your bank account. How would you know that? What is the proof that you have $25,000 in your bank account? That's what you look at. When you want to build this image, you say, okay, what's proof for me that I've achieved this, that I've gotten this? Okay. By the way, the last thing we did was sitting in a red sports car and feeling that feeling of pride and that feeling of satisfaction. Okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that I've got it. Doesn't. I could be sitting in my friend's sports car. I could be anywhere. Sorry, I had lost a little bit of my image on my laptop, so I apologize. But I could be, it doesn't necessarily mean that I own that sports car. But I tell you, when you put the feelings in there, what else is going to get you to feel that way you just felt? Okay. If it's you've rented the sports car for a day and that was enough for you, then great. I did an exercise like this for a gentleman a few years back. And his goal, his objective, and this just seemed like a lifelong thing, was to go to Vietnam. And there was a place in Vietnam that he had read so much about that had the most incredible sunset in the world. So obviously he must have been on the west coast of Vietnam. And it was astounding. When he talked about it, you could see in his face that he had studied this. He knew he wanted to be there. It was on his bucket list, and it was probably at the top of his bucket list. So I walked him through this whole thing. I brought him there, looking through his own eyes, seeing what he'd see, hearing what he'd hear, feeling what he'd feel. And he spent a couple of intense minutes there. And then I brought him out of that. And after we did the whole exercise, I asked him what I usually ask is, now how do you feel about your ability to achieve this goal? Because when you come out of this exercise, you feel so much more positive that this is going to happen for you. And you know what he said to me? He says, I'm not going to achieve it. And I looked at him. It was the very first time I heard that. I was saying to myself, what's going on? What's wrong? He said, I just did achieve that in that moment. I no longer have to go there. That's astounding. That's phenomenal. Because what he wanted to do is he wanted to go see the world's most incredible sunset. Okay? And he saw pictures of it all over the place. But you know, there's something about being there live, because there's something about the feeling you get. And he got that right in that moment. You know, every single goal, everything single objective is not about the material that we're going to get or the achievement we're going to achieve. It's more about the feeling that's going to give us. Okay? If you want a house, yeah, the house is great, but what does it make you feel like? It gives you some feeling of safety, as opposed to not having a house, as opposed to living in a place that's not safe. It gives you safety and security. It gives you satisfaction. It gives you pride. It gives you all sorts of things. Okay? But when you're looking at the house, does it have to be a big mansion to give you all that? No, maybe when you set out for your goal, you have one particular thing in mind. You know, maybe that red sports car would do it, but maybe I found myself sitting in a different model and it was white, and the feeling just came to me, the same feelings I just had in that moment. And I said, oh, what I originally wanted isn't that, but this will do. So you got to remember that as well. It's not all about the exact specifications of everything you want. It's all about what's really going to get you those feelings. So $25,000 in the bank. What is proof of that, by the way? Well, it'll probably be proof is looking at your bank account and looking at your bank statement and seeing that. So maybe the image is you opening up the statement and looking at it and just jumping for joy. Or you're on your computer, you're looking at your electronic statement and you're wild crazy because it happened. Okay? So how about you probably, a lot of you probably have some weight goals. And I won't say lose weight, because when you lose something, you're always looking for it. And you often find it. So we don't want to lose weight. We want to have a weight goal. Okay, so if you have a weight goal, look at what the weight is that you want to get to. Not how much you want to lose, the weight you want to get to. So you could see yourself standing on that scale. Or better yet, if it is weight reduction you're looking at, and you're looking at this for health, let's work on size as opposed to the number of pounds. Because the pounds can fool you sometimes. But if it's a certain size dress or certain size suit that you want to wear, picture yourself in that. Picture yourself looking as trim as you want to look. Okay? It's still measurable. It's still a size X suit that you want, right? Or a size X dress like a size 12 or size 8 or whatever it is, right? It's still something you can measure for your goals. But picture yourself in that, in the first time you're slipping into that. And how do you look? How do you feel about the way you look? And how does it feel in there? So you build your image that way. And maybe you've got a spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever with you, and they're just like complimenting you. So there's your audible, right? And It's tactically, how do you feel in this? And what energy do you have when you're at this point? Okay, so these are all your sensory. So I've told you about financial, told you about some health goals. Whatever goal you have, what is proof that you've achieved it? And that's going to be your image. Again, the steps are, okay, formulate your goal as if now. Write them down. Okay, formulate an image of you having achieved it, the image that is proof that you've achieved it. Okay, step into this image. Step into this image and make it as sensory as possible. Seeing what you'd see, hearing what you'd hear, feeling what you'd feel, and if possible, smelling what you'd smell and tasting what you'd taste. Some of you out there are probably cooks. And make it as sensory as possible. Increase these senses. Ask your subconscious mind to lock it in with the sound of Tupperware locking in or the sound of a padlock locking it in. Right? Step out of it. Breathe this life force onto the picture. 4 deep breaths right onto your picture. Then send it out into the future. Send it out into the future, into that right time. Imagine and trust. Trust your subconscious mind that's putting it out there into the absolutely right time for you. Allow it to be there. See everything from then all the way back to now align itself. You know, I'm going to add one other thing. I'm going to add one other thing to it. After you're all done, be grateful that you've achieved this. Remember the gentleman who achieved it in his mind and that was all he needed? He was very thankful. So be grateful that you achieved this. Yet another subconscious hack. And that's it. I'd love to hear from you after you've done this exercise. Well, you know, if you have any problems, you can find me at www.pauseffects.com. You can write me at Kenda_ASSOC@msn.com. That's Kenda, KENDA_ASSOC@msn.com. Thank you very much and be awesome. Take care.